This video is going to review how to enter social supports into CareManager. Social supports can be anybody the member identifies who they want to be involved in their care and treatment with the health home program. It could be family, it could be friends, could be neighbors, again, whoever they identify as their own social supports. If you want to identify them in CareManager, you can do that right in the social supports tab. So if I wanted to enter someone here for my member, I just navigate to social supports, much like everything else. I click plus new contact, and then I'm going to put in the information for the person. So let's say this is for her father. Her consent, he's an active contact on the case. Relationship as father. This is a very extensive list, so you should be able to find what you're looking for here. If he were a legal guardian, I could indicate that. If he's an emergency contact, I can indicate that. In the middle, I have the option to put in his contact information. So maybe dad gave me his mobile number so I can get a hold of him if I can't reach Melissa or if I need something else. He is there. Much like the demographics tab, you can keep adding more addresses and phone numbers. If I have a separate phone number for him, maybe I also have his home number, I can put that in as well, and so on and so forth. There's a spot to put comments in, so if there's anything you want to note specifically about a social support, you can do that here as well. The final option is to enter the consent for the social support. You are not required to enter any other consents in CareManager other than the two that everyone gets, which is the health home consent, which indicates they signed page 1 of the 5055, and then the HICSNY consent to support the data sharing and alerts coming into CareManager. The reason we don't have you enter any other consents is just because it becomes a lot to keep that consents tab up to date and matching what's on paper. And really what's on paper for consents, who we have HIPAA consents for, or who's on the 5055, is going to be the source of truth for all your consenting information. So you do not need to enter the consent for this social support. Should you want to, you can. If you click the new consent, it looks much like the other ones. You'll pick member self. The date defaults to the date you're putting it in here. The person is automatically populated because they know who we're consenting, and you can click opt in and save. So now I have on here a social support of her father. I have his phone numbers right here. I have down that he is an emergency contact and that my consent is active. Now, should this member choose to rescind consent or doesn't want her father to be involved in the chart anymore, I can click view here and I'll simply go in and edit this. I will make him inactive. And then because I entered the consent, I now need to end date the consent. So I'm going to put an end date on here and I'm going to change this to opted out and save. And that will end date the consent here. I can see that I used to have consent for him. I no longer do, and he is no longer an active participant in the case. Because I entered the consent information, I will also be able to see that on the consents tab. They speak to one another. So you can see here, we have our health home consent for in page 1 of the 5055, the HICSNY consent, and then I had entered this consent for her father. I can see that it's also been ended. So again, you don't have to enter this consent information, but if you do, it's important that you keep it up to date and end it should and if the member choose to withdraw consent for that particular social support. You can add multiple social supports. If she had someone else she identified, you would simply repeat the process with a new contact. I won't make you watch it again, but again, you can have as many as the member identifies, and it's that simple.